And we are live. Welcome to the Guide to Movies podcast with Joe and Sean, where we are once again joined by a special guest. But first off, Sean, how are you?
Well, I was doing okay. I was very worried about last week because when we had Kevin on, I just knew he was funnier than me, more eloquent, and smarter than me, and so I just got nervous that it was going to be the Guy at the Movies podcast with Joe and Kevin by the end. But then after listening, I realized that our voices, Kevin and I's voices, sound very similar. So in that case, Kevin couldn't make it, and whatever is being said by the voice that sounds like this was technically my opinions.
And that is just a very long intro to welcome Kevin back. Kevin, thanks for joining us again.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back. My voice sounded insane. No, thank you. It's not an IT sound, unfortunately similar. And listening back to last week, I say like and you know what I mean way too many times. Really trying to work on that. If I have more pauses, I've been successful this week. That's where we're
going. That's the teacher in you. So we have a lot of news to talk about this week. We are going to first start off with what we've been watching. We skipped over that last week because we had a ton of news to get to. There still is a solid amount tonight to get to. But let's start off. I'm going to run through real quick what I've watched and then focus on one that I think I really want to talk about. I watched My War with Grandpa, Lights Out, which is a 2016 film that was in theaters. I had never seen it, enjoyed it. Coco, again in theaters. Time, Hubie Halloween, Evil Eye, Nocturne, which are two of the Welcome to the Blumhouse films on Amazon Prime Video. And then I finally saw Archive. Archive is the film I want to talk about. It is with Theo James. It is a futuristic movie, I think, set in 2038, where essentially he is trying to create an AI hybrid that will allow him to download his deceased wife's archive, so personality and everything, into a humanoid body. Very similar in some senses to the Amazon Prime show Upload, which I also love. But Archive is a really good movie. I was actually really blown away by how much I enjoyed it. I'm a big sci-fi fan when I get a good sci-fi film, and there hasn't been one in a while, in my opinion. So this one was really well done. There is, it's lacking in the story in some areas. There's obviously a larger world at play and more politics and stuff going on that they don't really get into. And there's a couple minor characters that show up and then they're gone and then you never hear of them again. But I just really enjoyed it. I thought Theo James was incredible. Stacey Martin is the female lead, who was very, very good and very, you can connect with her very easily. So definitely recommend that. Fun fact, you can't buy the Blu-ray because there is no Blu-ray, which I've been trying to do the past few days. So that is a pain in the arse. Sean, what have you been watching?
So I was getting very high into the Criterion collection for Halloween, but I'm just going to go down most of the stuff and then talk about the big one for me. I watched on Netflix Hubie Halloween, on Criterion Texas Chainsaw Massacre, on Netflix the 40-year-old version, then Let's Scare Jessica to Death, The Wicker Man, The Hills Have Eyes, and Cat People, all on Criterion. Then there is The Lie and Black Box, which are two of the 4 Blumhouse movies that are coming out. And then finally Spontaneous on Amazon. Now, those Blumhouse movies are also on Amazon. Now, I would have been talking about the 40-year-old version today because I think that's a great movie on Netflix, probably one of the best screenplays of the year for me. But I'm actually going to talk about Spontaneous because Spontaneous was absolutely threw me for a loop. It was fun to not know a single thing about this movie. But for me, Spontaneous came out, and it is basically, I'll give you the premise. And this doesn't spoil anything because it's in the first 2 seconds, but basically it is a teenage romantic comedy set in high school. And in that high school, students are randomly exploding. And so right off the bat, like the premise alone, it just invites like absolute suspense and terror for the entire movie because you are not sure who's going and who's not. But I was blown away by actually how like this was a dark comedy, but it was a tender love story. It just was a really, really well done horror. And all of that had to be balanced very well and could have easily been terrible, but worked perfectly. I was just really blown away by Spontaneous, and I recommend anyone to see it.
That sounds really fascinating, and I'm wondering if it's like part of a larger universe of that. What was that, Power or whatever that. You know what I'm talking about? The superhero movie that came out on Netflix.
Well, there's Project Power, where they took the pill and they exploded. You haven't seen this season yet, but The Boys has a couple of things of that as well that go on.
Also, this is not a television podcast by any means, but can we talk about the quote that I haven't finished The Boys season 2 yet? But can we talk about the quote that came out where, like, apparently Homelander, the actor that plays him, was told, "I have 2 words for you for season 3: homicidal maniac," and everyone's like, "How is that any different than how you've been?"
I think he's referring to a specific character.
Oh boy!
Oh God, you're right.
Spoiler alert! No, I'm kidding. All right, Kevin, what have you been watching?
Real quick, because you started talking about The Boys, not me, but I read today that in the Garth Ennis book, there's a thing called Herogasm, which is a thing where heroes can it's like Rumspringer basically for superheroes. You know what I'm talking about? Where like they can just go live out their wildest fantasies and whatever it is, right, and their kinks with other superheroes and stuff. And apparently that's coming in season 3 as well. And that came out because Jensen Ackles, shout outs to my Supernatural fans out there, but he's going to be in season 3 as well, which is super awesome. And his character that he's playing apparently in the comics has sex with Superman in The Boys, whatever his name is, Homelander. And unfortunately, they said we're not going to get that, but we will get Herogasm, so I'll settle for that. Boys season 2, I highly recommend. It's incredible. So I finished that, and that made me feel all sorts of bad emotions. And I watched a lot of other horror movies to chase that. The Wicker Man was a huge one for me. I watched Scream 2 this week, obviously. And I saw The Gift, which is like a slow burn psychological thriller directed by, help me out here. It's going to come to me. He's like this. I get this guy confused with like 6 other people in Hollywood. You're going to see me be
That's
like,
the issue I'm having right now. It's
Robert.
Joel Edgerton.
Yeah, Joel Egerton, who I get confused with a slew, unfortunately, of actors. But he's, I think, a better director than actor. He's got Ben Affleck syndrome, where I like his directed films more than the films that he's in himself. But the thing I want to talk about the most right now is The Wicker Man, because that was awesome and not what I was expecting. And I saw the remake many moons ago. Not the Beast! Oh, where Nick Cage punches a woman in a bear suit. It's like, I think responsible for like the modern day thinking of Nicolas Cage is like, he's a crazy person. And really he's like a German expressionist actor trapped in, a Coppola's body. And this is almost nothing like that. There are some, yes, a cop gets trapped on a kooky island, does some investigating where he really shouldn't, and finds some folk horror. But I was not expecting a full-blown musical to occur in The Wicker Man, which I was actually here for. After like the first 2 or 3 songs, I'm like, all right, whatever. I've had a weird day. I'm in for this. And then has one of the more upsetting endings in a horror, even for a folk horror. Like, it's all shot at daytime. Basically, this person who is unhappy with their own life but unwilling to admit that out loud ends up in this strange place with strange customs, and eventually finds their way into these customs and becomes part of it, all shot at daytime, but with an unease and a sense of dread and horror.
I know what he's doing.
It builds very slowly, but I'm in for it. And then something terrible happens with a fire at the end, where one of the main characters, no spoilers, but spoilers, is consumed by flame. And after finishing, I thought, Ari Aster, what the hell, brah? You just plagiarized, my guy. And you didn't even keep the best part, which is you didn't include a single song in Midsommar. Nobody sang. It was too boring because of that. And also, why did you watch this movie and think, wow, this really tight but kind of slow burn 88-minute film should probably be 2 hours, 20 minutes? That would be kind of cool. What do you think, A24? And I disagree. I think this got it done in half the time, was more weird and more fun, and said the same point. So check out The Wicker Man if you want, and Midsommar too, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, Kevin X, he reviewed 2 films. I want to get another one.
Go for it.
No, I'm kidding.
First off, I want to ask, so you're a big fan of Midsommar, is what you're saying?
I liked it a lot. No, I do. I went to bat. Here's the other weird thing. I was the guy dying on the hill of Midsommar being like, it's good that it's slow. So I love both of these films. I'm just saying, Ari Aster, I get it. I saw your reference point. Like, okay.
Yeah. I did not like Midsommar. I was so bored.
Most people were bored out of their skulls. And I was like, this relationship is toxic and I'm here for it.
I was also, like, kill them all, kill them all.
And the shrooms depiction was really cool. But you're right. This one builds dread much more economically in, like I said, half the time.
Well, we have one film that we're all going to talk about that we all watched, and this is part of our Scream watch that was born out of Sean never having seen Scream. And today is our second week of it, so we are getting into Scream 2. For those of you who are not familiar with the film, here is a brief summary. Sydney, played by Neve Campbell, and tabloid reporter Gail Weathers, played by Courtney Cox, survive the events of the first Scream, spoiler alert, but their nightmare isn't over. When two college students are murdered at a sneak preview of the new film Stab, a movie based on the events from the first film, it's clear a copycat killer is on the loose. Sydney and Gail, as well as fellow survivors Deputy Dewey, David Arquette, and Randy, Jamie Kennedy, have to find out who is behind this new murder spree before they all end up dead. So, first question goes to Sean. What were your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I couldn't believe they did it again. I couldn't believe it's this good. I loved this movie. I enjoyed this movie from start to finish. I usually hate the meta self-aware thing, or I usually think it goes too far. I don't think it goes too far in this movie. I think that it is just the right amount, even though the whole time they're just, like you said before, like you introduced us to, they're discussing sequels and which ones are good and the rules to a sequel. But I still think this does hold its own away from the meta jokes enough that you can sort of enjoy that self-awareness. I think that it still had the Wes Craven suspense that always keeps on blowing my mind on how he can make, like Midsommar, pretty much mostly daylight, like very suspenseful and very intense. But it was just once again fun. And I think it's this lovely, like, you know, cinephile moment where I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, oh, like I was, you know, a cinephile's in an unrealistically large dorm room, like talking about, like, you know, like beautiful people. Oh, and beautiful people. This cast is insane. This cast, as they kept on going in, I mean, Timothy Olyphant is in this movie as a college kid, and as you know, let's talk. Yeah, exactly. But I was so blown away by how, like, just how fun they were all having fun. And for me, that was like the most important part of it. I think it explored the Courtney Cox character a little bit further, which, like, I actually liked a lot. Because, you know, you did all you could with Neve Campbell. Yeah. Mom died. Okay, she survived an attack. But now it's like, let's go into Courtney Cox. Let's see how she's dealing with this. Let's see how she's dealing with covering this type of horrible stuff or exploiting these tragedies, which is basically what she's doing. And I feel like an idiot, but the twist did just, like, absolutely get me. And kind of made sense, which is just great. Laurie Metcalf, how you doing? Like, that's just wonderful. Like, I'll stop going. Let's see what else we got.
Well, so let's talk about the cast real quick before we turn to Kevin. You have Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Liv Schreiber, Jada Pinkett Smith, Timothy Olyphant, Jamie Kennedy, Omar Epps, Jerry O'Connell, Laurie Metcalf, Heather Graham, Portia de Rossi, Rebecca Gayheart, Tori Spelling, Luke Wilson, and a whole bunch of others. Like, it is a loaded cast. It's also like a who's who of 1990s, but
it is a purely 90s cast before, like, the 90s cast took hold. Like, it's just, even though this is 97, so we're heading towards the end of the 90s, it was just, I kind of, like, was blown away, but I was like, this guy? Like, it was really great.
Kevin, what were your thoughts?
About that, it was like every top B tier actor in one film study class with the worst film studies teacher ever. It was just like, yeah, I just let these jagoffs continue the discussion to completely derail me about talking about the sequels. And that's it for class, everybody. Have a great day. Like, okay, cool, bro. I'm pumped because I had real problems with this one, and I'm excited to kind of get into that a little bit here.
Go for it.
I found myself really trying to talk myself into this movie after seeing it. And here's why. The first one, I was so wholly blown away with how they were able to do this meta send-up of horror films while simultaneously making a very tight, thrilling horror film, right? That's like a feat. And so I went into this not expecting I expected a sequel, right? And unfortunately, I feel like that's what I got. And so, where in the first one, I felt for the characters a lot and was like, we are kind of organically see. One of the things I loved about the first film was that these kids didn't really fit into any one, like the jock and the brainy one and the bad boy, right? Like they were all just kind of jerks, to be honest, and like all into film and horror movies, and you had to piece together what their relationships were like, right? Which is like real life. We don't fit into these things. I really enjoyed that, and I think that made guessing who the murderer was much harder, because you're like, it really could be any of these people. And in this one, Sean, you talk about the twist, right? Like, unfortunately for me, when the first scene where Laurie Metcalf shows up and then just disappears, I'm like, that's Laurie Metcalf, Scream 2. You're not gonna just like introduce her to be like, yeah, she's a nobody character actor. You don't recognize her. She's probably never gonna show up again in the movie. I'm like, she's 100% the killer because she's Laurie Metcalf. Hello, a famed stage and theater actress, also star of Roseanne at this point. Like, there's no way you're just going to include her in a throwaway scene where she gets dunked on by Courtney Cox. And so when that came up, I thought the storytelling, I thought there were some pieces of it that I didn't really love. That said, there are still brilliant sequences in this film. The sequence where they are escaping out of the car is awesome and completely puts me back into Scream 1. The everything with Stab is funny, and I like that gag a lot. And I am super psyched. Unfortunately, I don't think the gag was done as well as Scream 3 because I saw the trailer for Scream 3 right after Scream 2. Apparently, they get Parker Posey going in the mix in Scream 3. I'm very excited about that because she's incredible. But Luke Wilson showing up as playing people. I love movies within movies, and I love movies that reference other fake movies. It's incredibly metatextual, and I'm a big fan. And that said, I have real issues with the first scene. So whenever you want to talk about that first scene, I would love to hop into that as movie fans.
Hit us with it.
Okay. So I kept being confused as to what that was, right? Because if it's a movie premiere, cool. I get why they're handing out promos. I get why it's packed. I get why they'd be giving out free tickets. But also, if it's a movie premiere, why is every single person in the audience being a complete POS and just running around fake stabbing people and screaming and being like, I've never been in a public space before? Granted, it might be what movies are like the first couple of weeks after we're allowed to go back outside and like go to a movie theater. We'll just be like ripping up the seats and being like, this is incredible. But they don't know what it's like. And so I was like, oh, this must be a Rocky Horror Picture Show situation where these people have seen Stab so many times. Everybody knows every single word, and it's like this big gaggy thing, and they're all in on the joke, right? No, that's not the case. It's just a screening, and the only person, not to bring up racism, but the only person in the theater that gets shushed is Jada Pinkett Smith. Jada Pinkett at the time. And then they're like, shh. Anyway, where was I? It's stabbing in the air. And so I was like, what's going on? And also, why were they killed? Why were those two? Why was that the first murder? Is my biggest question. But we'll get into that probably.
So I will say that I will defend Kevin on this, where I watched many teens get carved up in this movie, and the most disturbing was people talking during the movie. I didn't appreciate that. The premiere was bothering me quite a bit, and that is something I did not tolerate. They were killed. That's true that they had no link except for their names somehow linked up. I believe that was part of it. Like their names reflected names of the past victims from the year before. And they were also killed just to like put more highlight on the actual film Stab. But that is true. Like when I see the film premiere, and I think one guy is literally ziplining across the.
I saw that guy. Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a movie theater, ladies and gentlemen. Please sit down and quiet down. Like I get mad at a cell phone. I don't know what I would do with this.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that there is a lot of things that are good about this movie. I think there's somewhere it's just kind of like, all right, we have to capitalize on the first one and how it was received. How can we do that? Let's go a little bit crazy with it. Mm-hmm. I think they do fall into familiar tropes. So Kevin, when you're talking about like the jock, the smart person and whatever, kind of like the movie Shortcut that I saw a few weeks ago, it was like I think I called it the Breakfast Club of horror movies.
Yeah, I read that review. That was good.
It's similar to that, right? Like I wonder if that was intentional to play into that a little bit more, or not. But what I will tell you before we move on the stories is that I do think so. My personal favorite of the three is Scream 3, and I often forget about Scream 2 because it's kind of just in the middle. But Scream 3, one of the reasons I like it is because it does play fast and loose in a lot of ways.
Cool.
And it's really ridiculous.
That's why I really didn't like Scream 2, actually. I thought the first one was a really good horror movie with this little side action of like, also, check out all the tropes we're kind of calling out here, right? And this one's like, no, now the tropes are the movie, and the killer, spoiler alert, has to be affected by the movies, and that's why he's doing. And it became like, it was like, I was like, bro, chill. The rules aren't that important. Like, have fun with the film, and you don't have to make everything tie in so hard. I think I forgot why it was so great in the first place. But I've also heard that Scream 2 has a really tortured production history, and like was really rushed. And like at one point they weren't even sure. Like it came out, I think, only like a year after Scream 1, and
exactly right.
So like I get it feels that way. It feels rushed. It feels like. Remember that first one? Cool, because we're riffing on it now. Like we got to go quick, you know. And I was a little bummed out by that. So I'm really psyched for Scream 3. I think.
Joe, you don't have to spoil this for us, but is it just going to become a gag that David Arquette is going to unrealistically survive every single movie? Because if it is, then
no, don't spoil that. Don't, because I had the exact same thought, Sean, and I really hope it's true. I hope he gets stabbed no less than 50 times in Scream 3 in the spine, and then at the end he's like, "Where's that reporter that was mean to me but kissed me? I gotta talk to her."
So I will tell you, I'm not going to answer that, but let's run through the cast of that real quick, which comes out 3 years after the second one. Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Patrick Dempsey, Parker Posey, Scott Foley, Liv Schreiber, Jenny McCarthy, Emily Mortimer, Kelly Rutherford, Carrie Fisher, Jamie Kennedy. I'm trying to remember if there's any other. Patrick Warburton, Kevin Smith, Matthew Lillard, which...
My guess is that Matthew Lillard plays himself. No, I bet you he and Kevin Smith show up to like a stab premiere or something like that. That would be real fun.
I enjoy Scream 3. It's one of those that I have fond memories of watching and being genuinely surprised. Yeah. So.
And shouts out to Wes Craven for including Greek tragedy in the thing too, right? Mm-hmm. Like that I was pissed that the college wasn't more descript and like a thing, right? Like he should have named it Hooper University or something, right? But like it's some forgettable nothing, blech. But it's hilarious in a love letter to film where like everybody in it is a film student somehow. And like the last scene takes place in the hollowed halls of film where they have to find a VCR. Like I found myself being like, okay, I love horror films too. So I love you, Scream 2, but like you could have been better. I get it. I don't know.
I'm with you. Well, let's move into movies on the move. Next week, Scream 3 as part of Scream Watch. And then, of course, we have one more to go, and Scream 5 is currently scheduled for January of 2022 with approximately 47,000 people in it.
They're calling their shot that it's going to be a January movie 2 years ahead of time?
So when they made it a January movie, everyone was losing their shit about it.
So that stuff doesn't really matter anymore, right? Like,
well, yeah, nothing matters. We live in a weird shit.
A hellscape.
But I do think that's part of the play of Scream.
I hope so.
Think about it. All right, so movies on the move. I'm going to run through the list real quick. David Fincher's Mank is heading to Netflix in December. Some of these aren't necessarily on the move; they're just getting dates.
Sure.
Mank is hitting in December. Soul, which is the big one for me, which is very surprising, is moving to Disney Plus on Christmas Day. Promising Young Woman is hitting theaters and VOD on Christmas Day. The Addams Family 2, I think, was supposed to come out next summer, and it's coming out in October of next year. So everyone that really is excited about that should be even more excited. I hated that movie.
Is that Illumination?
It is DreamWorks. Is it Illumination?
It looks like a Minions tie-in, doesn't it? Doesn't it look like Kevin?
Gomez looks like a minion.
Bob
I mean,
shows up and like bleep bloop.
How's that go?
I don't know how they talk. I hate them.
It is not popping up.
That accent is offensive to Minions, Kevin. So we're gonna have to issue an apology tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, I'll retract my statement. Sorry to anybody.
The Minion
More
community.
Supported dictators over the years. Didn't Minions start? No, I'm not going to get into Minions tangent, but I'm pretty sure.
I love the idea of like a Minion heading to the podium demanding an apology with a dead serious tone.
I also very much enjoy that we were about to get into a whole thing about the Minions and the political problems with the film, and
many. It's weird how many political Minion problems I have.
that is quite something. That is quite something. All right, so I was just trying to look that up real quick. Maybe we'll find it later.
Doesn't exist.
It was MGM actually.
Oh,
so not even any of the two big ones. But in addition to the Addams Family, we did find out today that Amazon is in final negotiations to acquire Coming to America, the sequel to Coming to America,
good title.
TO versus 2, which is a huge title for Amazon to nab. And then Sean's most anticipated movie of 2020, Greenland, is coming out finally in December. I believe it's December 18th, and then it's going to be hitting HBO Max the following year. Any of these excite you?
Soul coming to Disney Plus, because that one might be probably one of the biggest. This movie right now is having the buzz for a Best Picture Oscar win. And in a insanely weird year like this year, that is actually something that's possible.
Not if Sonic the Hedgehog has something to say about it.
Oh God, if only. Sometimes those February dates just get a little bit messed up, but that would be the only reason, is because it got released in February. But like Soul, like we thought, like, will this get pushed back? Will Pixar say, you know what? This is the year we could actually pull off this kind of win, and they're going to be able to do it. And, this year the Oscars are obviously streaming anything. So, as long as it had the intent to be streamed or to be in the theaters, which I don't know how you prove that. But in this sort of case, Soul is the one that is what everyone's going to watch. And I'm excited to get together with the family after you've opened our presents on Christmas and watch Promising Young Woman, because I think that might be just one that brings the whole family together. That one is also something I'm excited for, but definitely Soul was the one that stood out to me.
It's going to be like 11 a.m. on Christmas morning, and Sean's going to be like, shut up, Soul is on, and Promising Young Woman's right after it.
Everybody sit down.
And why did I not get Greenland on Blu-ray? Kevin, how about you?
I'm super psyched to watch a disaster film headed by Gerard Butler in the middle of right now.
We've never had one of those.
That sounds great. That sounds like honestly the worst idea going this year. And there are many that's in contention for many bad ideas. Just who wants that? I'm psyched for Soul, I think. I'm psyched that it's going to be free on Disney Plus. That sounds great. I think it'll be good.
That's all Sean's reaction there. No paywall. It's not a premiere access.
Right.
Really? Oh, wow. I guess Mulan didn't do so hot. Nice.
Yeah, I think they're thinking like we already charged people for a monthly subscription. It feels kind of gougey. I mean, we would gouge as Disney, but people are, balking at the price now, so we're going to say no to that. And so, yeah, I'm psyched for that.
That's awesome. And going off of that, it's very interesting that Soul was going to Disney Plus, given the awards chatter that Sean just filled us in about. But yesterday, and we don't have a story about this, and I don't have all the details, but Disney did announce some reorganization within its organization, and part of the reorg is that they are going to be focusing more on streaming. And I don't know what the language was about it, but basically streaming is where they are going with their future. So that's pretty fascinating. Do you think that's a good move for them? Is that just kind of a reaction to the times right now, or is that a long-term strategy, Kevin?
I think it's a business move, right? I think it makes sense for them financially, probably. I'm not going to pretend to understand what's going on in their books, but I think as a movie fan, as a person who likes seeing things in the format that they were intended, which is big and loud and clear, I'm pretty bummed that they're focusing all of their eggs or a lot of their eggs into this. I don't know, this basket that I fear is going to just cut down on quality, right? I sound like a curmudgeon, and I'm probably like a cantankerous old man when it comes to this stuff. But I think it's a slippery slope to putting everything on streaming to seeing a lot more of what you were seeing with that Blumhouse stuff, right? Just like not great kind of schlock, but they're like, it's not, we don't really have to pay theaters or anything, so we could just throw it in there. And we're going to get a lot more stuff probably to keep us watching, but I don't know how good it's going to be.
Yeah, I need to read into it a little bit more because part of my thought process is we had talked about those mid-tier movies maybe becoming somewhat scarce in the theaters.
Right.
I'm wondering if this is kind of Disney just accepting that beforehand. Regal, as we said, is closed for the foreseeable future. Odeon overseas is only opening on weekends for the foreseeable future. And then there was a story today that I haven't really, I wasn't able to confirm it with other sites, but it looks like AMC is running out of money again, and maybe out by the end of the year. So I don't know what that's going to look like in the future. But they need to figure out a new distribution mechanism. And hey, it's like I said before, and I've said a million times, it's time for theaters to figure out what their next step is and this whole industry to kind of reposition for the future. Sean, you with us?
I am with you. My charger was ticking down on the battery, so I had a quick panic, and I was like, all right, Kevin's on. Let me just try to run out there. And so I had to go looking for that. But I hear we're talking about streaming in theaters. Yeah, theaters are dead. Streaming is God now. All hail streaming. And yeah, there we go.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, speaking of all hail, let's all hail the multiverse because Spider-Man 3 just added Doctor Strange, which is a huge addition to this film and just really opens it up and maybe lends credence to a lot of the rumors that have been out there about Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire. We already know that Electro is coming back. I read a story today. There's a rumor that the third act is like a bunch of villains, and maybe that's the Sinister Six at that point. I don't know what it looks like. But there's a bunch of villains, and the other two Spider-Men come to help Tom Holland's Spider-Man take down the villains. So I have a lot of reservations about this approach with Sony especially. But Kevin, let's go to you because you have the comic book background, and I'm interested to hear what your take is on this.
I think it's good. I don't think Sony's going to have too much control over what happens in here. I think they're going to get. I think it's going to be more so like the other Spider-Man movies, right? Because the important thing is that it's the third in the Spider-Man Marvel movies, right? And I think it's also going to tie in with Doctor Strange's next movie as well, right? What's the order that they come out? Is it Doctor Strange 2, Spider-Man 3? I think so.
I'm not sure. I'll double check that while we're talking.
I can.
All the movement, it's
tough to tell, and I think it won't really matter. I think they're going to both inform each other a lot in how you saw with a couple of other Marvel movies that like had some direct references and cameos to other ones that help tie it in a little bit quicker, right? And I think I'm excited for this. I think the multiverse is cool, but I think we're going to get. I've been waiting for Fantastic Four to be in the MCU forever. Less so X-Men. I feel like I don't really. Fox has totally just made me not care about the X-Men, unfortunately, over the years. But I am psyched to see if they can pull them in. But really, I want to see John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. I want to see his real life wife play his fake life wife. I think that'd be really fun. And so I think the way that you do that actually is with Ant-Man. Misdirect what? I think Ant-Man is going to introduce us to Doctor Doom, who's been living with Janet Van Dyne in the Tiny Shrunk Down world. We're also going to get a multiverse from Doctor Strange. And now we're going full on what's like, as a true Marvel fan, what's like kind of sucked about the first couple phases, right? Is that you grow up being like, well, these people can all time travel. Their buddy lives in space with a dog from another dimension. And Spider-Man is just delivering pizzas in New York City, but he knows about all this, right? And then they're like, yeah, we're going to bring all of that to the big screen, starting with all of our grounded superheroes very much on Earth and no other planet. And granted, I love those movies, right? But I'm ready to get weird and cosmic and get into that multiverse and get into Fantastic Four, bring them all in. So I think this is the way they're going to go about that.
Yeah, there is a lot of opportunity. Spider-Man 3 is currently scheduled to come out before Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which is interesting to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if that was always part of the plan to have Doctor Strange in this, or if that was like, I don't know, things are delayed. Let's, get things kicking before the Multiverse of Madness. The other thing, just because you brought up X-Men, that I wanted to mention is that on Disney Plus, the X-Men films from Fox are now listed under Marvel Legacy Collection. So
cool.
they are making a distinction between the MCU and the older ones.
The bigger story there, though, is that Disney Plus is putting Fox movies in a place where you can find them on Disney Plus, right? Like they bought them and they're like, cool. We're all forgetting about all those indie films from 10 years ago. Great. But they don't exist anymore. Goodbye.
right. Disney's good at hiding movies they don't want anyone to know about. Sean, thoughts on this one?
I didn't mean saying, streaming is God and theaters are dead. I hope
take it back.
It's been plaguing me during this entire Fantastic Four situation. I honestly, obviously the Spider-Man 3 with Doctor Strange in it makes a ton of sense. First of all, you got Holland and Cumberbatch have amazing chemistry together. We didn't see it that much in the movies, but you could see it a lot in the interviews.
Yeah,
you just they are wonderful together. So I say that they are great. I would love to see them together. I would love to just see them go a little bit nuts. And I think they are with the Strange movie. And, Multiverse of Madness is going to be a absolutely nutty movie. And multiverse is part of it. So that means that, we could open up Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. We go back and forth, and will they listen to the fans? Will they not listen to the fans? And either one can go. We have, DC listens to the fans. Marvel, loves the fans. I look back and forth with this and I say, okay, you know what? I'm in for it. I hope it can happen. I just always think sometimes those theories go a little bit too far. Are they really going to work out? And I want them to, but sometimes they don't listen.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It should be pretty interesting to see where they go with this. I think there's a lot of opportunity for success, given that we know Marvel knows how to balance a movie with a ton of different characters. I also wonder if Doctor Strange is kind of filling in for Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man in this sense, as sort of the adult in the room. So that's going to be pretty cool to see, I think, because I do like Doctor Strange's character, just not in his own movies. I like when there's other people around him and influencing, or he's influencing with his powers what's going on in the overall universe.
It's funny. The thing I thought was the worst part about Doctor Strange is going to end up being like, it's the most beneficial part to the MCU. Where I watched it, I was like, oh, he's just copying Iron Man. This is just boring Iron Man, because he's like cocky, really good at his job, smarter than everybody else. And he's got this horrible accent where he's got to learn empathy for others. Right. And you're like, cool. Been there before. You also wear red. That's your main color. Sweet. Been there before. But now it's going to be really simple to just be like, and now you're the mentor for Peter Parker. Right. Like it's
take it up with Stan Lee, Kevin. Take it up with Stan Lee.
Oh, I will. When I get to wherever he is right now, I've got some bones to pick.
All right, let's move into some other news. We have not really a ton of news, but some good stories in here, I think. Let's get through some of the lesser ones. Sister Act 3 is rumored to be in the works, according to Whoopi Goldberg. Does that excite anyone on the pod? Kevin?
Me big time. Yeah, one of my first crushes was the redhead in Sister Act 2. No, yes, but also one of the sisters in Sister Act 2 back in the Habit. It's a great time in my life to be alive. But also the songs in Sister Act 2 slap. Yes, I'm saying Sister Act 2 because in my opinion it's the better of the two. I mean, you've got Lauryn Hill in that one, so obviously it's better. But I think there's a lot that you could do where, hell yeah, give me a feel-good musical where Jesus sings and a choir gets their wings, because I'm ready. I need that in my life.
So I think Sean and I are going to be on the same page here of not really caring. Sean, what are your thoughts?
It's not even really caring. And this is, I for once I get to hit the other side of Kevin with the I disagree. Where I think Sister Act is obviously the better one. When I was growing up, I had a very big crush on Bill Nunn, and I just look at this and I say to myself, all right, so Sister Act has the actual plot, the actual situation there. Sister Act 2, better music? Yes.
By far. Yeah.
Yes. Better musical scenes? Yes. What the hell was that movie about? She had kids in order to save a cathedral. Then James Coburn comes in as an evil monk, but stopped by Michael Jeter, who likes to just swing beads and sing Ain't No Mountain High Enough in the credits. I don't exactly know what was going on in that movie.
It sounds like you know exactly what was happening in that film. Yeah.
Was that it? That can't be what it was. Come on.
It's a classic. We got to put on a show to save the town. movies. Like those are my favorite.
There are certain movies that I think should not be receiving sequels, and this falls into one of those. I think that I think Sister Act 3, the time we're so far beyond it. I also think that religion itself is in a weird place right now.
Perfect time.
What's going on?
So I don't know that that's, maybe that's why it is the right time, right? But that's kind of how I feel about Coming to America as well. I think the first one just like struck gold in so many ways that I'll watch the second one and I hope it's good,
Sure.
but I'm not really, excited about it.
I think Coming to America, I got really more excited about after seeing Dolomite Is My Name, which was incredible and hilarious. Actually, one of the funniest movies I had seen in that year. And
It's Eddie Murphy's best in years.
It by far, and Wesley Snipes just steals it by it's not even fair. It's incredible. So if Snipes is back in here, we're given so many other actors renaissances. Wesley Snipes is deserving of one. I think that man needs it. Let's get that guy in more movies.
One remake that I will support is an old Wesley Snipes movie, Demolition Man.
Sure.
That needs to be remade. Like crazy. Also, I want to correct something because I just caught myself questioning whether Wesley Snipes was actually in that movie.
Me too. What am I?
It was, right?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm like.
Oh,
Wait,
now you're
wait.
making me nervous. But he played the
Wesley
director.
Snipes in Dolomite Is My Name, right?
No, I'm talking about Demolition Man.
Oh,
Yeah, he's in Demolition Man.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay. I thought you were trying to call me out. I was like, oh God,
No,
did
no.
I just make a gaffe? Is that the end of Kevin on this movie pod?
Click.
Yeah, canceled.
But last week I was talking about the war with Grandpa, and I kept saying Eugene Levy was in it for some reason because I think I just wanted
Were you
to.
thinking of Chris Walken?
Maybe, but he's not in it. Spoiler. All right. The next story. I should have deleted this one. Netflix is developing an Alice in Wonderland musical. And the story here is that apparently not enough people know the story of Alice in Wonderland. So Netflix said, we'll play with this IP. And Sabrina Carpenter, who was in Netflix's movie Work It, which apparently people loved, is going to star in what they're calling a musical reimagining that will take place in the modern day. Is this a film that we need?
What's the next story?
Okay. Kevin, any comments on that one?
It just sounds like a lot of the words that you said in succession also cancel each other out. So, more people want to know about Alice in Wonderland, so we should set it in modern day and make it a musical and completely change the plot, right?
I feel like it's I keep thinking Cinderella story, and when that came out, when I think I was in high school, it was like Hilary Duff and Chad Michael Murray or something. I say or something I don't know it's exactly who it was. So let's talk.
Bro, and Paul Giamatti and Renee Zellweger but that's Cinderella Man.
Oh, so close. Sean, do you know that originally Alice in Wonderland is really because the guy who wrote it, Lewis Carroll, was super obsessed with math and how math was getting more and more absurd and abstract, and he wanted to write this treatise on it basically. And so this person goes through an entire wild world. I thought he was just on LSD the whole time, but he was just a nerd doing calculations.
That makes sense because a lot of people think I'm on LSD all the time when I'm in front of the room, but I'm just a nerd making calculations.
Anyway,
yep, that went
moving
good.
on from LSD. So the news broke today that the Furiosa prequel, which is going to be set before Furiosa meets the titular character of the Mad Max films, has number one been greenlit, and number two, George Miller has casted for it. So Furiosa will be played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who was his original pick, but he was flirting with some other potential actresses at the time to play.
So it's a period piece. That's cool.
Yeah, and Chris Hemsworth and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II are going to be in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually pumped for this cast, and I'm even more excited to see this prequel now.
I think Taylor-Joy is a brilliant casting. I said to myself, why would you do anybody but Charlize Theron? No one else can play the role but Charlize Theron. But obviously, if you're doing some sort of prequel, I think she's got a good darkness about her, but still has that young innocence. I I haven't seen her in anything I've hated. Well, wait, sorry. I haven't seen her in a performance I've hated. I've hated her. No, excuse me. I'm doing this wrong. I've never hated her performance. I've hated some of the movies she's in.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, but in general, it's still like just this is the idea I like. The other two, Hemsworth, he doesn't need any more jobs. He's fine, but you know what? He's going to be great. Meanwhile, Yahya. I mean, come on, Yahya. Let's go for this guy. Get him in every single role ever.
I'm in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Yahya. You know what I'm saying? Like,
wait a minute. You just did two. Like, come on.
Big movie from Yahya coming this week. Trial of the Chicago 7 with Yahya in it. So he's part of that cast.
When's Candyman coming out? That's all I really care about.
Next year.
Next Halloween.
Hey.
Yeah. Kevin, anything on this one?
I agree with Sean. I think is it Anya Taylor-Joy?
Mm-hmm.
Or it is, right? Yeah. Anya Taylor-Joy is unfortunately one of those actresses. Well, I can tell she's very talented, but she's in a ton of roles that just bore me to death. And that's me. That's on me. That's not on her. I have a dumb brain, a tiny little stupid dumb brain, and I can't appreciate great acting when it's in a stuffy period piece. I loved her in the Witch second time around, so I think she's going to be good. I think for Furiosa, the most important piece is who's writing and directing it, and as long as it's George Miller, it's going to be okay. If they tried to be like, excellent, we're going to get some new person that we can control with the studio and kind of milk the money out of, then it'd be a joyless kind of cash grab. But this guy is making his passion project so late in his life. You gotta love that. You gotta support a guy who's just living out his dream in his later decades.
Anya Taylor-Joy also going to be in Last Night in Soho next year, which was supposed to come out around this time, if not a little bit sooner or earlier, I should say. Period piece, I think you are referencing Emma, which came out earlier this year, which I did not see and have no interest in seeing. She also was in Radioactive, which I actually forgot about. And then she was in... Yeah, right? And then she was in Glass and Split, which I love her in Split. I think she's great in Split.
Yeah, agreed.
I love her. I don't like the whole idea, and this is all the controversy behind Split, which maybe we don't have time to get into, but the fact that they connect because of abuse, and that's why she's pure of heart is because of abuse. It really, her performance is great, but that was a little bit icky for me.
Yeah,
I'm with you. So let's move on to the next story. Tom DeLonge, lead singer of Blink-182, is say it ain't so, he will not go. He's going to direct Monsters of California. I can't even say that with a straight face. Mm-hmm. A film being described as a...
I just got the reference. Oh my God. Say it ain't so, I will not go. You have to say it like that. Then I would understand.
All right. Anyway, it's a film being described as a coming-of-age science fiction story that centers around kids that investigate paranormal happenings in Southern California. Reminds me of J.J. Abrams.
The one
Super 8.
Super 8.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to be, if this ends up being a mystery and they're trying to find someone, I could just see him coming up from behind the kids and just going, "Where are you? And I'm so sorry." And I just think, I don't know. He's going to have to deal with this when this comes out. There's going to be a million of these. We're getting out in front of it and we're having fun. Mm-hmm. And I think, hey, maybe he's taking a part in directing some of his music videos like Fred Durst. And so maybe we'll get another The Fanatic like Fred Durst gave us. And if we're getting one of those, then right on. Let's go for it. But
I'm happy you brought up The Fanatic, Sean, because I think it's totally different. I think Tom DeLonge understands that people make fun of him all the time recently because of his UFO stuff, right? I think also we owe Tom DeLonge a freaking apology because the Navy has basically come out in the last year and been like, yeah, no, we've been videotaping aliens this whole time. We can show you. Here's some aliens. And then these clips come out of UFOs. I don't know what to say. And so I think Tom DeLonge also captures youthfulness and innocence in youth through Blink-182 in a brilliant way. I think it might actually surprise. I am holding some reservations that this could actually be kind of a good idea. Because he loves aliens so much and it's a passion for him, because he understands youth and teenage years, I think that's a no-brainer of writing a pretty okay script.
Kevin, do you think that this will have giant spiders?
Oh man, that's too deep of a cut.
Oh man, when I get the silence after I do something like that and I'm going all in, that's always one of my favorite things. That's just like hearing pure radio podcast silence. That is a rough one.
That good
I'm DeLonge is
daddy.
44 years old right now, so I don't know about the whole like he connects with the children.
I think his music did. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Tom DeLonge now, but I think that he made being
in the
a teenager,
90s,
early 2000s as well, and I think he managed to carry that to too long of a point. I think he's got some interesting things to say.
I just wonder if where this comes from, if he has always been kind of a filmmaker on the side or been interested or whatnot. So I want to learn more about that story because I think that could be pretty interesting. One movie that I'm hoping they find a way to make interesting is the remake of The Others, which has arguably one of the best twists in cinema, I do think, back in 2001 when the Nicole Kidman movie came out. I do really enjoy that movie. I think the twist is great. I don't know how you remake a film like that. It's kind of like remaking The Sixth Sense. Like there's either you're going to do the same twist, which you're not going to do. So you're probably going to try to like do a double twist of some sort, which people are going to see coming. But do you guys like the original Others?
This is going to bring about another rewatch. I have actually never seen The Others.
Really?
And I will say, just by like looking out upon, how these two work, it's going to depend on who's behind the camera. And I'm looking through it, and I cannot tell who's behind the camera on this. And that just tells me right there that this is going to be like Kevin was mentioning before about the, about what the Furiosa prequel could have been, where I'm a little bit worried this is just going to be somebody that does whatever the studio wants, and this will be like something just made out of cardboard the whole way through, and there's no depth to it. But as someone who has not seen The Others, I won't talk too much about this one.
I watched it this year, and I don't love it. I think it's like a 3 out of 5, maybe. I think it's a really I don't want to use slow burn 8 times in the same podcast. So I will say I think it's very methodical, self-assured in its pacing. I think here's what people call it when they can't say slow burn. It's very atmospheric, and it actually does that well, right? Like The Others is actually all about the location, because you're like, why is there so much fog? And when is Chris Eccleston coming back? And what is going on? And unfortunately, I pieced together that puzzle super fast because it's part of a disease I have, I think. But I was like, I'm not going to spoil it, but I'll be like, oh, is A B and B is C? Okay. And
It's that mathematician.
yeah, once I got that figured out, it was just a very slow thing for me. It was another turn of the screw. It was another Henry James kind of psychological horror. Should I believe her? Is she not telling the truth? Is she going crazy? And I think it's just been done to death. So what else are you going to be able to say? Because we still like something I'm even excited about is The Haunting of Bly Manor, right? That just came out, right? With the wonderful Mike Flanagan directing that. And even that, I'm like, okay, I loved Haunting of Hill House so much. But do I need to see another turn of the screw remake? Like, hated the book, thought it was boring. Every single movie about it is boring. Again, dumb brain, tiny, stupid little dumb brain. But I think you don't need to remake this slow burn. Just watch the original that only came out 19 years ago. Honestly, when I saw the news break, I was like, oh, this movie from 5 years ago is getting a remake? That's stupid. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, I'm old. Cool.
I will say, I think you do tap on something there. It is 19 years old. And for the time that it was made, early 2000s, very different time. I do think that it was something new in the horror, the modern horror landscape. So I think that it was a good reinvention of stories that we had seen before with Nicole Kidman, who I think was kind of near the top of her game at that point. That's also what makes me worry that it's not going to hit the same today, because we have had a saturation of similar type twisty films, and especially in the horror field, that, do we really need this? I don't know, but it'll make some money in its January release.
Right. So. People have really believed like the Believe Women storyline of horror films, right? Like that's the trope of every single female-led horror film. And it's come to such a boiling point today where it's like, yeah, we all get it. So what are you saying about it that's different and important? What's your take? And I think that's what I want to push people towards now, of like, what's the next step? What else do you have to say about it? Don't just rehash like it sucks.
You sound like a director. That's what I would like to push people towards.
If only, man, I have so many ideas. If only I knew how to direct movies, I'd be making all sorts of Hammer films.
Well, maybe you should talk to director Patty Jenkins, because she is certainly lining up quite the slate for herself here. The next film that she is has been attached to, not necessarily her next film, is going to be Cleopatra, which is a film that has been, I think, trying to be made for years and years and years. It's sure to be an epic, but it's going to reunite her with Gal Gadot. Yeah. I'm excited for it. It's the script is being written by, I'm gonna butcher this name, Leta Kalogridis, who is the writer of Alita: Battle Angel. So that doesn't really do much for me, but Kevin just had an out-of-body experience and needs to change his pants. So how do you feel about that, Kevin?
Holy shit. Because honestly, when I'm like, Swords and Sandal biopic of Cleopatra, like, sign me out of here. But then literally you said Alita: Battle Angel, and I've been championing that film since it came out. Since I saw, I had like this very harrowing experience. Sorry, not to change the subject, but I'll bring it right back. But I saw The Hate U Give on a professional development day with a bunch of teachers, right? And so we all went to a theater and watched that to like talk about race relations and things like that as we came back. But we all got to see the trailers, and a trailer for Alita: Battle Angel dropped before that movie. Every single teacher, I'm watching it, I'm like, this actually looks kind of cool. Eating my popcorn, like, a little crazy, sure, but cool. And every single person around me who like is older than me, whatever, is like, rolling their eyes very loudly, right? And then I saw Alita: Battle Angel, confirmed to be a phenomenal film. I think that film rocks. I feel vindicated in how good it is. I think it has really incredible, subtle things to say about trans identity that I won't get into here. I think finding yourself in another body is an incredible story that they did beautifully while holding some ham-fisted, crazy sci-fi action. It is insane how good that movie is, in my opinion. So I guess I'm excited for the stupid Cleopatra movie now, because that person is they can do no wrong in my book right now.
Well, you've sold me on the writer.
Yes.
So that's exciting. What about the casting of Gal, Sean?
Oh, I love that casting. I mean, you know, it's better. Well, I'll the cinephiles will revolt, but it's better than Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, you know, this is not a white woman, so there's that. I mean, I think that, you know, she is an empress. She is a queen. Like, this is Wonder Woman we're talking about here. So obviously, someone like this could pull off this role. Now, you know, as Wonder Woman, she showed the range, she showed the charm. Can she kind of play this very regal figure? I don't see it, only because I've only seen her as Wonder Woman. Have I ever seen her in another movie? I genuinely don't know if I have. But I can't even think of another movie she's been in. She's in the new
the scene in Batman versus Superman, your favorite movie, where she is in the it's at Lex Luthor's place, and she's looking at the sword, and she just looks regal in her dress.
That counts as Wonder Woman, though. But also, yeah, she does look regal in that. So I think maybe there could be something there that works. A modern sword and sandals movie does worry me. I worry about like the whole thing just being completely CGI surrounded. I have like visions of a terrible trailer that's completely CGI around it. But this is Patty Jenkins. And Patty Jenkins was an indie filmmaker. Like, this is the one that directed Monster. And then, of course, you know, she's directing 2 Wonder Womans. And so she's, you know, getting her paychecks and also making them her own, which is huge. So maybe she can make this big budget, as you say, sword and sandals picture. Maybe she could bring that genre back. I'm talking too much. I'm talking a little bit too big here. This is one of the ones where, like, if Cleopatra was being made by someone else and casting someone else, I'd have a big issue. Also, I repeat everything that Kevin said about this amazing screenwriter, and Alita: Battle Angel is a lovely film that I wish they explored more of the world of. That was my only issue, but also I still loved it a lot, so I'm going to stand behind it.
Sean saw that after like probably 6 months of me petitioning him to be like, you need to watch this.
Every 6 a.m. text was that for every
Didn't
day.
make much sense.
No.
Look, I think you guys are exactly right with the concerns for the movie or this type of film. I think with Patty Jenkins, though, in charge of it, I am a little bit more confident. I think she's a good storyteller, especially with female protagonists. I think she knows how to tap into the unique stories it should be told on the big screen there. So that will be interesting to watch. But I'm actually hopeful for it because I love ancient history like that. And I think that seeing Cleopatra in a modern story, as long as it doesn't go like Gods of Egypt direction and completely be stupid, then I'll be fine with that. All right, top story of the day is a doozy. It's an absolute doozy. You thought it was going to stop with Transformers, and then Hot Wheels, and then Barbie. Now you're getting a Slinky movie. Why is a Slinky a Slinky? Where did it come from? We're about to find out. I can't even. The Billy Madison director, Tamara Davis, is going to be directing a story, a film, an epic about the Slinky. Do we need this movie?
So originally I said no. But then you said Tamara Davis, right? Is that her name?
I did.
I want to get that right. I went into a little bit of a Tamara Davis dive, right? And I'm like, okay, what's she been directing, right? She directed CB4. She directed Crossroads. She directed, what was the one that you said? That was great, Billy Madison. And then she also directed Half Baked. It is criminal that this woman who has delivered 4 incredible, indelible comedies / maybe coming of age films with Crossroads, is just cut out from making movies in Hollywood. So
I need to stop you right here because we need to have a very serious conversation.
Did I get that wrong?
Crossroads being the Britney Spears epic.
Yes.
Your thoughts on that?
Is it my favorite Britney Spears drama film? Probably not. No, but I mean, it's worth a watch. And I feel like there are some podcasters who are up here in it. Isn't it like never mind. I'm getting too deep into like baseball.
What's happening? What's happening to you? It's
Crossroads
like,
is a solid movie,
Sean.
Sean.
What is that? No.
I saw the making of the video of She's So Lucky as a kid, and that sticks out as a film that is like incredible in it. And also, you got to support Britney. That's all.
Are we bleeding?
Anyway,
is she going to be in the Others remake? Is that how this is going to go?
I don't want to get into it, but Britney Spears is going through some terrible things in her own life.
Watch her Instagram stories. It's kind of like the Others.
Trying for help. She's trying to get claim over her custody over her own life.
She's like trapped right now, right, or something.
I heard that. Yeah, it's bad. We really should have talked about it on the show.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
But
Slinky.
So Britney Spears in Crossroads, directed by Tamara Davis, who I think deserves many more bites at this apple in Hollywood. She's proven that she can make really great comedy films and understands that. Like Billy Madison has one of the biggest laugh lines. A few of them of all of the Sandler films, right? Like she knows how to bring that out in a person. So who knows?
Do you know who she's married to?
Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield.
Mike D from the Beastie Boys.
Oh yes,
dude. So of course she's so cool, and that makes total sense.
There will be like about 1 million college bros and 2 Supreme Court justices that will be pissed off that Billy Madison was directed by a woman.
Yeah. You know, here's the other thing, though. We already had a Slinky movie. It was called Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the best scenes in cinema. Everyone loves a Slinky. Gotta love a Slinky.
I do have to genuinely ask, though, is this a movie... oh boy, how do I put it? Is this a movie about the inventor of the Slinky who, accidentally spills a mattress coil down, or is the Slinky a main character? Yeah, if the Slinky's the main character, then I don't know. This sounds like a great thing. It's like a chase down the stairs, and people are trying to make it, and the plastic Slinky just can't make it, even though he was the young buck that could have made it, like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Quick and the Dead, but he wasn't fast enough. And then the metal Slinky, the old timer, makes it to the very end, and that'll appeal to the boomers. So I think we're in here. They're
gonna have the old timer Slinky. They'll have like the rainbow colored LGBTQ Slinky.
Very good. This could get offensive fast.
Just put googly eyes on it. You know?
Yeah, like just put googly eyes on. It's a Geico ad, and then we're good. Like I don't get what. Like this movie sounds like it's going to be great. I see Oscars.
There has to be some more drama with the creation of it. I know it comes or was created by someone who was pretty much focused on, I think, creating a coil for something and ended up creating this bendable Slinky thingy majiggy.
I honestly, the only thing that has brought me joy in the last week is thinking about what the Slinky movie could be about. And I've written probably 20 or 30 spec scripts about all the different directions that you could go with this. Because Sean, you're totally right. It could be an animated film for kids. It could be, for some reason, a hard-boiled detective film, because who cares? It's Slinky. What? Put it in anything, right? I would very much love to see like a period romance piece where the Mr. Darcy is just a Slinky, and it's never once like talked about or mentioned. It's just kind of natural.
I want a Slinky horror film where like someone is downstairs and they hear something upstairs, and they like quickly look at the steps, and all of a sudden you just see like slowly creeping down a Slinky. And the camera's like,
you joke, but like there's a Stephen King short story called The Mangler, and it's about it's about a thing that folds sheets really flat, and then the Mangler becomes possessed by the devil and starts killing people. And it was made into, speaking of Wes Craven, I think like a 2-hour Wes Craven movie called The Mangler, or he might appear in it. I forget how it works like that. But yeah, fact check me. I might be totally wrong. But you can make a movie about anything is what I'm saying. And you can make a movie about a Slinky that as soon as somebody picks it up, just starts attacking the person, and it like cuts off their circulation and slits their throat or something. Like, why not? Make it crazy.
I mean, let's all just remember that when the trailer for The Social Network came out, there was a lot of people that just straight up laughed at it because they're like, oh, the Facebook movie. Look at the Facebook movie. And it's, this is actually something that talks about like the American dream and the dangers of it and wanting to be accepted. And all of a sudden it just like turns into like, and that was about like, yeah, because it's not a Facebook movie. It's the invention of Facebook. So if the Slinky's going that way, this actually could be something that's a little bit nuts. Could be something that's actually pretty good.
That's also the only sequel I care about is the Facebook movie part 2. My biggest gripe with it to this day is like, you wrote that movie way too soon, Sorkin. Why? It's not done being told. And so definitely need a sequel about how it's all gone to the shitter since then.
If everyone's involved, I'll love it. I'll love it. Definitely.
Sorkin does keep mentioning it in different interviews, talking about how like he would love to write it and stuff. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. Hopefully we get that at some point. But regarding Slinky, this got me to thinking, what movies have we had released over the past few years or even, further back that were just completely, absolutely unnecessary, right? I'm not saying Slinky will be, but it's just funny when you hear that they're developing a movie about Slinky, right? Mm-hmm. So are there any films that you still to this day are like, why the hell or how the hell did that get made?
They're only unnecessary until they make a ton of money, right? Like, why? Well, you're making a Lego movie. How are you gonna make a Lego? Oh my god, it made how much money? Like, so if it's like Sean, you were saying on a previous podcast, because I listened to this podcast, if it's good, it's good, right? And so we'll only know about the Slinky movie after it comes out. But I will say they did make a Duplo movie or a duplex blocks movie. You know the Lego knockoffs that exist?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jim Gaffigan was in that thing.
Oh.
But that came out like 2 years ago, and you don't even know it because apparently it came out. That's an.
I mean, I'll say this about what movies are unnecessary. I'd say that all movies are unnecessary. And that's me making a genuine statement. No, that's me making a genuine statement where it's like, all movies are unnecessary. Like, think about it.
Sean, first you said streaming was king, and then now you're saying movies that are unnecessary. I am petitioning to replace you on the movie podcast now.
We're already gonna do that. I knew this was your move. The whole time I saw it. You moved, for those of you listening, you didn't see, but he's moved his square up to next to Joe. And all right, so
I'm slinking around.
What I'm saying is that there is no point to have any sort of movie, and pretty much unless it and they're good. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it. My best example is Toy Story 4. And people are like, that's very unnecessary. I'm like, well, you know what? Toy Story 3 was unnecessary. Toy Story 2 was unnecessary. You know what? A movie about toys coming to life is not needed. This is what we have to think about. Movies are not needed. Movies are entertainment. And so if we really think about this and we really think about, wow, this movie was unnecessary, this movie was unnecessary, all movies are unnecessary for this. They're here for our entertainment. And that's where I, really think about that. Now, you could argue with me that, technically there's some extremely important documentaries, including one we're going to mention in a little bit, that is extremely necessary and needs to be watched by everybody because it informs the public. But in this sort of situation, yeah, those things are necessary. Those things are important. But I'm just saying that, instead of saying, that Toy Story and Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4 are unnecessary, think about them as that everything's unnecessary and just enjoy movies. And that's where I'm getting at with that. I think I fumbled that a little bit, but I've always had that thought in my head.
I think that sequels are a challenging thing to discuss in and of themselves. So we can definitely go down a rabbit hole with the sequels that shouldn't have been made because there's a ton of them out there that just flop. But thinking about original films, so thinking about films like The Room or Movie 43, they're the two that came to mind for me. And I'm Googling real quick to see if there's any others. Someone said Howard the Duck.
I mean, another one would be Psycho, not the 1960, but Gus Van Sant's shot-for-shot remake in 1998. But he has also admitted, he's like, I did this as an experiment to see if I could remake that. And, so in a way, that was necessary. Was it shitty? Yes. But it was necessary.
Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is another movie.
That sounds dope as hell. So, Sean, I'm going to disagree with you, and I think here's where I'm going to plant my flag, right? It's if you want to get, I just read Camus for the first time in freshman year of college philosophy, and I'm getting existential with you, what is necessary, my friend, and what is life, and so, yeah, all that BS aside, I will watch. I love a movie when that movie is important to the person that made it. And that can be The Room, which was incredibly important to Tommy Wiseau, right? Whoever made Santa Claus versus Dick Punching Aliens or whatever that movie you just said was, maybe not as important, but maybe that meant something to that person, right? And so whether it's a sequel, whether it's an animated film, whether it's an indie budget thing that you scrape together with your best friends, I get that filmmaking spirit from when I was a kid, right? And making shitty 1-minute videos with my buddies and how important that is. And that comes through whether it's a sequel, an animated film, or a piece of shit, right? I've seen many, many, many bad films that you could tell were really important to the person who made it. And that's important. Right. And you can do that in today's day and age with bigger budgets and people throwing money at you and PR people. Right. I think your Ryan Coogler's, right, make these incredible epic films that might feel unnecessary because they're a Rocky remake that's reestablishing the genre, or they're making another comic book movie. Right. But Ryan Coogler's come out and said, I love big budget films. I got stars in my eyes. Spielberg's an inspiration for me, and that's what I want to do. And so you see that come through. And if there's passion and love in the film, then hell yeah, put me in, buckle me up, and I'll watch Santa Claus punch that alien. But if you're doing it because you see it as a means to an end, or that it's topical right now, and it's trendy right now, and you want to jump on something before it's too late, I see through that really quick. I think being a 6th grade teacher helps me with that. 6th graders have incredible bullshit detectors. Mine is always tuned to 1,000, where if the person cares about it, hell yeah. If the person is trying to make some money, I'm probably not going to watch it.
So I'm generally with you. That was actually my devil's advocate I was going to play here, is that when I first read this, that it's a very odd story to see break that we're getting a movie about a Slinky. Mm-hmm. And especially, I think, when you're building on the cinematic universe that both Hasbro and Mattel want to work in with their toys, it's kind of interesting there. But that's part of the reason I never give a movie 0 out of 5, because someone cared enough to make it. And just because I didn't like it doesn't mean that it wasn't a, impactful movie to either the filmmakers and or the people that watched it. Mm-hmm. I'll watch Slinky. Let's be real.
I'm definitely going to watch Slinky.
All right. So that was our big story of the week, because I wanted to get your opinion on Slinky.
It led to some passionate pleas about filming, like what art is to people. So
I
Hey,
dived
I'm
into
loving that.
nihilism. I mean, I'm a nihilist now. Like you guys, like what the hell just happened?
Yeah, you were having a night.
Yeah.
All right. So before we wrap up, let's talk about this week's new releases. Today, which is Tuesday, but if you're listening, it is Wednesday. Welcome to Blumhouse released Evil Eye and Nocturne on Amazon, Prime Video. On Friday, we get Clouds from Disney Plus. On Friday, we also get The Trial of the Chicago 7 from Netflix, which I'm pumped about. And then on Friday as well, on VOD, we get Love and Monsters starring Dylan O'Brien. Kevin, where can people find you?
Oh God, on Instagram, I guess, but I don't know if I want you to follow me on Instagram because I don't know you there. But I'm trying to get a new Twitter handle, but they keep kicking my new ones off because they know it's me and it's a sham. But we'll see. I would say follow me in your hearts and on Letterboxd at KevBot9000.
Sean, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Skip Bayless is a shithead. And sorry, Kevin. I guess I took that one from you.
That's not fair. My Twitter handle is actually the John Wilkes Booth Project, but we won't get into that.
My God.
Oh my
No
God.
knocks against Lincoln. It's the Lincoln Project that I got some concerns with. It's a bunch of Bush cabinet people pretending to be liberals.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna be better. Okay. Take two. I am on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter at all. I'm on Instagram at Math Teacher Movies. I'm not going to do my full promo because also I'm going to talk about that I will be on a podcast that I was on, a while back called The Silver Screen with Mercedes Kent. It is on Hudson River Radio. So get a look at that.
I listened to that one too. I'm a big fan.
I'm telling you, that's a great one, and I love going on there. It's been a while since I've been on there, so I'm looking forward to jumping on. But yep, Math Teacher Movies on Instagram for me.
Very nice. And as always, you can find me at guidethemovies.com or at guidethemovies on Instagram, guidethemovies1 on Twitter. And you can listen to us anywhere that you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast. Is that the one that you listen on, Sean?
Yep, I'm the only one on that one. But yes,
one
Overcast.
listener.
Overcast.
And Sean, what do you want to encourage people to do?
I want to encourage people to vote. Check to see if it's check your, I don't know about registrations, but check to see if it's too late to register if you haven't registered. But if you have registered, please, please, please vote. You don't like either candidate? Tough. Pick the one you like more. All right.
And not to get political or anything, but we always end with wearing your damn mask. Today, more than 20 states reported record numbers of new cases of the coronavirus in recent days. And the fear is that cold weather, which is now starting to creep in as we get closer to actual winter, is going to exacerbate that. So please wear that goddamn mask.
For the love of God.
GD mask, let's say it that way.
And watch Alita Battle Angel.
And watch Alita Battle Angel. And get excited for Spooky. We'll keep you up to date on what's going on with that. All right, guys. See you next week.
All right. See you.
Thanks again.